Hey, it's Lemon. Welcome to the Backlogs. Today, we're going to be continuing Spooky Game Month by playing the spookiest FromSoft game I could find, Bloodborne. Oh, shut up. Just because it doesn't have jump scares doesn't mean it isn't a horror game. You try reading H.P. Lovecraft, see how much sleep you get. In any case, today's challenge is a simple one. We're going to continue the whip-only saga, albeit slightly out of order. I was going to do whips only in Dark Souls 2, but then I got distracted, and October snuck up on me, and before I knew what was happening, Sexy Party Alfred. The rules are simple. We're going to use whips, and only whips, to beat the game. What whips, you ask? Well, I'll show you. Hello, little ones. Do you have what I require? Ah, yeah, that'll do nicely. That's right, the threaded cane. The least used of the three starting options, and rightfully so. This thing sucks. Needless to say, we can't use the cane version of this weapon, which means backstabs are completely off the table. But the whip version does have about 4 different moves. You've got your whips, your nays, and a backstep attack that almost looks like a thrust? Maybe? I don't know, it's weird. Probably good in tight spaces though. But that's about it. So with these 4 moves out of the way, let's talk about the damage. It's bad. Like, really bad. Incredibly so. But it does have 2 things going for it. It has a longer range than you'd expect, and it can hit multiple enemies at a time. It may not be great, but with great care, we can use these facts to our advantage. Outside of that, the only thing worth mentioning is that it has a hidden serrated modifier, which just means that it gets a bonus against beastly enemies, which is better than nothing. So with that preamble out of the way, let's see how it works in action. First up is the Cleric Beast. He's more beast than man, so we'll get a nice little boost against him, and I've made a critical mistake. Hey, you wouldn't happen to have any idea where a guy could get some Solaire-like clothing, would you? Okay, thanks anyway. But it wasn't all for nothing. We can now access the doll to level up, which means our absolutely awful damage might be getting a boost pretty soon. I do a little exploring, meeting the locals and collecting any and all blood vials and upgrade stones I could find, and discovered that the whip, while doing next to no damage, does have a little bit of stopping power to it. I guess that makes sense. You don't exactly brush off getting multiple serrated blades slapped across your torso. No, wait, stop! I said brush off, not push off! But with slightly less goofy pants obtained, it's about time we see what kind of leveling we can get up to. I went ahead and sold all the armor I wasn't going to wear, mostly chest pieces, as well as any loose bullets I found on the ground. Then I leveled up to about 19 or so dexterity. And while the damage increase isn't substantial, it is at the very least going up. Something worth noting when it comes to Bloodborne. The upgrade system is a lot different than your average Dark Souls game. You can put points into your stats and upgrade the weapon itself, but the big damage dealer is going to be all the blood gems we find throughout the game. Needless to say, we've got some time before we get to that point, but hey, a little extra damage is always a good time. Which brings me to the next Bloodborne mechanic we get to talk about. Injuries. Anytime you do enough damage to a boss's limbs, you get this massive burst of blood, indicating the part is now damaged. Any part that is damaged now takes more damage with each hit, making a boss a little easier to take down if you focus on the weak points you're creating. And while some bosses are able to regenerate, it's basically a non-issue if you keep up the aggression. And just like that, the Cleric Beast goes down. Hell of a good start. Ah, ye old grinding bridge. Really glad I don't need to use it this go around. I can't even describe how weird it feels that I could just use my weapon on every enemy nearby. Usually in these runs, I have to pick my battles and run away from 95% of the encounters. And the range, look at that range! It's deceptively large. Consider me impressed. Let's see if this weapon can keep impressing me, eh? It's time for Gascoigne. Hey bud, work-life balance is a thing. Your daughters are waiting for you back home. Alright, relax, keep your teeth in. His human form tends to give me a little bit of trouble, but the whip is at the very least doing a decent job of getting hits in. But with a little bit of music box playing, we can skip right to phase 3, because Gascoigne's beast mode is always easier. Like now. Now? Now. Now? Well, okay, so maybe it's not really all that much easier. But you know what is easier? Whipping Gascoigne from behind a bunch of gravestones. Between playing the music box and keeping my distance with the graves, it's actually not that bad of a strategy. Of course, Gascoigne isn't a fan of it, but hey, you can't please everyone. After deciding to put on a helmet for a little extra protection, I started to really get into the rhythm of the fight, dodging attacks with relative ease, and figuring out the level of greed I could and could not have with my weapon. And before you could say beasts all over the shop, Gascoigne goes down. Time to get into the real meat of the game. The world is a bit more open to us now, which means we can finally find some upgrade stones in earnest. There's some here, and there we go. enough to easily get us to +3. And on top of that, a blood gem to get us started on our journey. Yay. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the blood gem system, considering you have to grind some truly awful enemies to get anything good. But we can work with what we've got. Speaking of, time to get a bit more stylish. There we are. Much better. Oh hey, it's our boy Solaire. Alfred. How's it going, my friend?
You're a beast hunter, aren't you? Why not cooperate and discuss the things we've learned?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Oh, very good. Very good indeed.
Alright, time for old Yarnum. This should go better than last time at the very least. Let's just grab this, and there we go. Finally, some light in all this darkness. It also helps keep the beasties at bay, which means my whip can do all the talking. Is this what it's like to play with a real weapon? Feels weird. Well, better capitalize on this feeling. It's time for the blood-starved beast. The damage we're dishing out is respectable, so no issues there. And being able to attack from somewhat of a distance is great for this boss, considering it likes to go into a melee frenzy every so often. The third phase is a little trickier, since I'm not wearing any chest armor to help negate the poison cloud it produces. But fashion over function. Isn't that right, sexy party Alfred? Indubitably, my good chap. And I'm talking to myself again. I really need to stop doing that. Anyway, let's head on over and see if we can't unlock the church. Or we can go to Yahar'gul. That's fine too, I guess. I perform the world's most daring jailbreak, get my vision corrected by a less than reputable optometrist, and collect enough upgrade materials to get my weapon to +5. And with our new upgrades, I'm thinking it might be time we say hello to Dark Beast Carl. Hey Carl, you said you wanted to go over some contract negotiations? Yes, I see. This fight is pretty easy so long as you can do enough damage to Carl's limbs. Which I cannot, apparently. Ugh, 2 hits before death. Alright, I'll be back later, Carl. Let me think over all your terms. While I do that, though, let's go back to where I was originally trying to reach, the Cathedral Ward. Or more accurately, the hard left in the Cathedral Ward that leads to Hemwick Charnel Lane. Nothing too exciting to talk about here. I find the last of the twin bloodstone shards I need to upgrade my weapon to +6, whip my way through the enemies guarding the area, and make my way to the Witches of Hemwick. This ought to be an easy fight. The witches themselves don't put up too much of a problem, but I did make 2 crucial mistakes. First, I didn't come in with nearly enough blood vials to heal myself with, and second, I came in with insight, which means lots of scythe boys all over the place. Combine that with the fact that apparently the witch's optometry attack is a 1-hit kill for my build, and we've got a few small problems we need to work through. I may need to invest in vitality a bit before this run is over. The price we pay for displaying the goods, I suppose. But I am nothing if not persistent, and after slamming my head against the brick wall a few more times, the witches go down. Which means we now have access to Carol runes. Not that I have anything particularly useful at the moment, but the moon runes are always a welcome addition to any build. Right, on to our next target. Time for this little lady to meet her maker. Vicar Amelia, yes, I'm very American, thank you comment section, is hardly a challenge at this point. Our whip breaks her limbs with extreme ease, which means we're doing large chunks of damage with every swing. And with my damage and endurance both large enough that I can keep the pressure on, Amelia isn't even able to get up off the ground without me beating her back down. So, without much challenge, Amelia is defeated on the first try. Amazing to think that I was stuck on her for almost 3 days straight on my first playthrough. How much I've grown. I touch a skull to learn a password, because that's just the kind of game we're playing here. Gave it to the skeleton guarding this door. Again, weird game, I know. Then made my way into the Forbidden Woods. Lots of snakes and snake men in these woods, let me tell ya. But the range of our whip is actually enough to keep them at bay. Oh, hello. Who might you be?
Ah, a new face, are you? I am Volta, Master of the League. Haven't you seen enough of these wretched beasts? Freakish slugs and mad doctors.
Finally, someone who gets it.
Yes, as a hunter well should. The night brims with defiled scum and is permeated by their rotten stench. Just think, now you're all set to hunt and kill to your heart's content.
Oh, wait a minute. My mistake. I thought you were sane. In that case, I'm gonna feel a lot better about what I'm about to do. Normally, fighting Volter is a bad idea, especially if you don't have a gun to counter him. But if your weapon has enough range and doesn't get caught up on things like weapon bouncing, you can just whittle him down safely from behind this column here. Don't let him catch you though. Man does insane amounts of damage if you aren't wearing a chest piece. But with enough patience, even the beefiest of boys can go down. Now then, let's see what kind of prize we've got. Oh, that's much better. Goodbye, steampunk capitalist. Hello, generic off-brand Solaire. Anyway, time to... Oh, hello. Who might you be? Alrighty then. I didn't really plan on fighting this many hunters this playthrough, but that's just the way it goes, I guess. I just wish I was able to use counters. That would make this so much easier. See? Look how easy that was. Ugh, this fight is going to be a pain, I can tell already. Well, that problem solved itself. Right, time for the ring rates. No, stop! Cut the music! I don't care if it's a parody. Do you really want to tempt the Token Estate and Amazon? The plan is simple. Whittle down the katana user first, preferably before they all transform into their second phases. Alright, can't win them all. Pushing right along, finish off the katana user, then focus fire on the candle katana. He's a slippery one, but predictably so. Just chase him as he dodges, and he goes down quickly, which just leaves the pyromancer, who by himself is easily handled. Just keep an eye out for all those giant snakes he's friends with. They can be rough if you aren't careful. Keep on the aggressive, and before you know it, the definitely not ring rates, no one said ring rates, go down. Oh, come on! Time for Bergenworth, land of big flies and everyone's favorite status effect. Well, I'll be a fellow cane whip user. It's not often I see other people of culture such as yourself. We should probably exchange number... That wasn't a cane whip. That wasn't a cane whip at all. After dealing with the imposter, I asked Papa Bergenworth for directions. Just down the road, huh? Thanks for the insight. Very helpful. So glad I wasted my time. And with that, it's time for Rom. Not exactly the heftiest damage, but it should be enough. First phase is easy enough, but the stone heads of the spiders are definitely giving me a little bit of trouble, considering my whip actually bounces off of them. Phase 2 is much the same, with a little more running in between attacks to avoid magic damage. He's got the ball, zooming towards the end zone. My God, he's going all the way! He's done it! A home run with bases loaded. Oh, the Bergenworth spiders definitely felt that one. And with Rom down, it's time for the final portion of the game. Time for Yahar'gul Part 2, Amygdala Boogaloo. Seems like Sexy Party Alfred has acquired quite the fan club, and I'm not just talking about the comment section. With enough exploring, we can find enough chunks to get closer to maxing out our weapon, which means we're probably more than capable of taking out Carl now. What, did you think I forgot about you? And good news! At this point, I can't be two-shot anymore by Carl's attacks. And with our new damage, we can knock Carl down repeatedly, diminishing the danger of this boss entirely. It's been fun, little buddy. Now back to jail with you. You know what you did. But with Carl out of the way, it's time to clear Yahar'gul completely. Time to face off against whatever this is supposed to be. If I'm being honest, I think we're starting to get to the point in the game where everything starts to crumple to the build. Breaking limbs is actually pretty easy for the whip, so getting in large chunks of damage tends to be easier than you'd expect. Serious question, why does this thing have so many legs? Like, even its legs have legs. And they're also kicky. Do you think someone on the design staff is a leg guy? Right, sorry, tangent. Take your lumps. Moving on, into Bergenworth College, where the Gudents are overly excited to talk about their school mascot, Patches. Oh God, why would someone make this their mascot? Make it stop! Make it stop! But with a little exploration, we get 2 new places to visit. First up, the Nightmare Frontier, home of the Amygdala, the Medulla Oblongata, and the Cerebellum. Not much to see here. We've got beasties who've adapted and learned to love flames instead of fear them, a few random hunters who are big believers in 2v1 fights, and whatever the hell this thing is. Troll? Are you a troll? But the real reason we're here is because of Amygdala, who apparently doesn't want to fight oh, there it goes. This fight isn't too bad. All you need to do is dodge the flailing limbs and aim for the arms and face. Shouldn't take more than a few... Alright then. So it's not quite as easy as you'd hope. Amygdala has a few other tricks up its sleeve, like ripping its own arms off and using them as weapons, or puking all over your favorite shoes and then calling your helmet ugly. Truly mortifying. But don't let it get you down. Everyone knows Sexy Party Alfred is the best Alfred. The fact is, the whip's range is great enough that you can even hit Amygdala's head with most of your attacks. And with enough persistence, and a blood vial or 10, Amygdala eventually goes down. Right, on to the next nightmare, the Nightmare of Mensis. More beasties, though these ones are filled with worms, a localized showing of Troll 2, and Mensis itself, the old one whose only method of communication literally causes hemorrhaging. I'm not sure what it's trying to tell me, but it sure is adamant about it. And after whipping my way through an entire legion of bird dogs and dog birds, we finally find the host of the nightmare, Mikolash. Remember me? Huh? Do ya? This is for the hours of pain you caused me in the last run. Oh, no, no, no. No instant win button for you. You take your lumps, and you go think about what you've done. Well, with Mikolash down, there's only one more boss before the end. But we've got quite a few side bosses to hit up. So before we finish the main game, let's finish off those, shall we? First up is the Loud House. What? You'll have to speak up! Up at the top of Cainhurst Castle, we've got good old Ligarius. No second phase force field to save you this time, old man. Ligarius is very good at countering, so it's important not to get greedy. Attack once, dodge away. Because of this, I use my heavy attack for each whip, since we're only getting in one hit every time anyway. And before you know it, we're in phase 2. Thankfully, the whip has a nice wide radius of attack, so we can get in a hit and take out the magical sword trick at the same time. And if you're feeling a little impatient, good news! Whenever he does his jump slam attack, feel free to take 3 swings while he takes a minute to recover. It's not an easy fight, but if you're patient and willing to wait for the right time to strike, he'll give you your openings. And like all brick walls, he'll crumble soon enough. Now then, it's time I proclaim my right as king to— oh man, my tan lines are really starting to show, huh? We need a new helmet. Hey Queenie, you got any helmets?
We shall not give audience to an ill-mannered beast.
Well, I never. Alright, fine, I'll stay out of your personal space. Oh hey, I learned respect. And I got my favorite armor set. Well worth the life lesson. You know what? I'm gonna take this newly found understanding of respect and apply it wherever I can. Here you go, Alfred. I wanted to invite you to my party, because I respect our friendship.
Praise the good blood, and let us cleanse these tarnished streets.
I may have made a mistake. But hey, guess who just finished his Fashion Souls? This guy. Majestic! Anyway, where were we? Well, we could go after Murgo's wet nurse. That's always an option. Yeah, sure, why not? I'm feeling spicy today. Much like any of the harder bosses, timing your attacks is key. And running away is always an option, especially when fighting 2 wet nurses at once. But take your time and learn the boss's attack range, and the opportunities to attack are pretty obvious. Keep up the pressure, and Murgo's wet nurse goes down without too much fuss. God, it feels good not having to worry about inventory limits. Oh, little baby, don't cry now. Here, I'll tell you a joke. A widow is mourning at her husband's grave. A gentleman walks by and says, "If you don't mind, I'd like to say a word."
That would be nice.
Plethora.
Thanks. That means a lot.
I guess he didn't like it that much. Let's move on to the Upper Cathedral Ward, because I definitely forgot to fight a few bosses over there. First up, we've got the Celestial Emissary. Silly mushroom men that they are, they don't put up much of a fight. And once you find the right one, it's not much of a challenge to get them into Phase 2. Now, normally Phase 2 is a bit of a problem for some people, well with Giganto over here, but for some reason, mine decided to just walk away slowly making microwave noises. So yeah, that's another boss down, I guess. And immediately after that, we've got Macaroni. She's definitely a lot beefier than the Emissary, and man oh man can she hit like a freight train. I gave her a few tries, each one a little bit more disappointing than the last. But after running low on blood vials after numerous failed attempts, I think we're gonna have to come back to this later. Not quite sure why I'm having trouble here. So with that, let's head on to the DLC, shall we? We've got 5 bosses to clear here, so this shouldn't take too long, but you never know. Ooh, what is that? Oh my word, I completely forgot that the DLC has a whip weapon. This might change my build. There we are, the Beast Cutter. Interesting. Looks like the base damage is a bit higher than the cane, but it's a strength weapon as opposed to a dex weapon, which means it likely won't benefit from my build. As you can see here, definitely a base damage boost. I was able to get it up to +7, and it's already matching. But, like I said, without the stat boost, it's just not gonna happen. And, as you can see, it's very clearly a strength weapon at heart. It feels like it would do a lot more stagger damage, but has a slower attack speed. Ah well, such is life. Speaking of life, let's take one. Time for Ludwig. Ludwig is a beastie boy, so our whip feels nice and effective against his limbs. Unfortunately, as is typical, I struggle with any FromSoft endgame DLC bosses, and Ludwig is no exception, because repetition is the key to victory, and I've only cleared this DLC like 2 times. But after a few rounds of trial and error, I start to get the rhythm down. Well, almost. Sort of. Alright, look, he's hard, alright? Eventually, I get Ludwig down to his 2nd phase, which means he now gets a sword. Great, just what every horseman needs. Needless to say, I'm even less seasoned against his 2nd phase than I am his 1st, and it doesn't take long for that to show. And of course, because this is a FromSoft game, there's no starting at the halfway point. I have to fight the 1st phase all over again. So, rather than put myself through that hell again, how about a different level of hell instead? God, you know what? I think doing the DLC a bit was actually good for me. This feels almost slow by comparison. That's it. Alright, give me them brakes. Yep, it's definitely happening again. We're hitting that power peak. Nothing the base game bosses can do but sit there and take it. Guess it's back to the DLC then, I suppose. Dodge the attacks, break the limbs, and make Ludwig wish he'd never heard of the old blood. Clearly, being at a longer range is a bad idea, but so is being up close. But if you wait for him to use some of his longer animation attacks, you can actually sneak up behind him and do some significant damage. Just keep your wits about you, dodge the attacks as they come out the gate, and eventually, Horseman Ludwig goes down. Oh god, that was awful. Have anything to say for yourself? Alright, geez, forget I asked. Hey bud, what you doing? You challenge running in there? Yeah, he's challenge running in there. Anyway, onward we go. Through the research hall, take a few ladders to get up onto the roof, and before you know it, we're there. The living failures. I'm sure there's a joke in there somewhere. Not much to say about this fight, honestly. You whip the fungusy boys, you dodge the magic, you whip the fungusy boys again. Rinse and repeat. If you're feeling really threatened, you can always run up onto the stairs and use your reach and new height to your advantage. But I feel like that's a bit overkill. Just make sure you pay attention when they offer to take you to the local planetarium. They paid good money to get you there. It's the least you could do. But yeah, not much to see here. Let's get to the real show, shall we? Lady Maria. Oh, never mind. Looks like somebody already beat her. I don't think she'd care if I took her glow. Ooh!
A corpse should be left well alone.
You have the most beautiful eyes. Alright, here we go. How hard can she be? So while she does have a speed advantage, we still have our range. Which means, as long as we don't get too greedy, we can whittle her down piece by piece. This is even more true of Phase 2, where she has some really slow and powerful attacks. But only if they hit you. Which means that unless things are going really poorly for you, it's an easy, slow grind to Phase 3. Phase 3 is a bit harder, considering her attacks have a wider range than usual. And unless your armor accounts for both blood and fire damage, you're gonna be hurting if you get hit. Who are we kidding? Armor doesn't do anything in Bloodborne. I couldn't tell you why, but this fight is extremely easy for me. Maybe it's because Lady Maria is essentially a reskin of Sister Frida. Or vice versa, I guess. In any case, the point remains. I've fought and killed this boss plenty of times before. I can do it again. Which means it's time for the second to last boss of the DLC. This is gonna be a bad time. Hello, baby Cos. How's your mom and dad these days? Yeesh. Something I said? Okay, this one is always a hard time for me. The orphan's attacks are erratic as all hell, hit all around his body, so there's no real way to take advantage of a blind spot, can reach a weirdly long range, and have a few questionable hitboxes. All in all, a really bad time, just as expected. This one took a few days to figure out, but when it did, man did it click. First off, there's about 3 or 4 animations where you can get in a free hit. If you can find those, the whittling process can begin. What's more, while his attacks may look incredibly erratic, if you can recognize which one is coming your way, there's a safe zone you can dodge to every single time. Follow through on everything you've learned, and you'll make it to Phase 2, where things get even faster, more wild, and harder hitting than before. Hooray! Yup, same problem as Ludwig. Completely familiar with the first phase, but fuck me if you ask me how to manage Phase 2. And with his health bar being so big, and my damage being comparatively small, what should be an easy first phase victory tended to become an exercise in managing my frustration. Every error is a blood vial I can no longer use in Phase 2, which is another chance to learn Phase 2's moveset lost. Could this have been the run? We'll never know. All I know is pain. The pain of smacking my head against a wall so many times that every attempt blurs into one gooey, pulsating mess where even my muscle memory lashes out in frustration. I guess what I'm trying to say, without diving too deeply into the abyssal well that is my suffering, is that the orphan sucks. I was stuck on this stupid-ass boss for days. Fucking days! I tried fighting him without locking on. I tried staying at long range. Why? Why is this so hard? I'm so close, just give it to me already! In the end, it just came down to pure luck. I wish I could tell you some grand strategy that I discovered, or some interesting pattern that revealed itself to me in my final run, but no. Just simple dumb luck and RNG. Ah well. Say hi to your folks for me. But with him down, there's only one boss left in the DLC. Lawrence. For some reason I have really bad memories of this boss, but I think I've only ever beaten him once, so who really knows. Whoa there, champ. Looking's free, but touching's gonna cost you. Alright, let's see what we've got here. Same moveset as the Cleric Beast, with a few explosive additions. And the damage, on both my end and his, is pretty much the same as that fight as well. At least we know what we're getting into. Lawrence is weirdly top-heavy. Keeps falling over every dozen or so hits. You know what? Here, let me help you with that. There we go. Problem solved. In Phase 2, Lawrence leaks lava while chasing you around the room like a toddler demanding juice. Just trust me on that one, okay? But don't worry about it too much. The whip's long range is long enough to keep you out of the danger zone. Just do what comes natural. Easiest DLC boss, bar none. Has he always been this easy? Anywho, time for the last 2 bosses in the game. Time for a little revenge. Gehrman, long time no see. Unfortunately, I don't see this going well for you. What with me having the longer reach and all. And, considering I literally went crazy the last time I had to fight you, I may have memorized all your moves. Remember, always the scythe, never the sword. If the sword is out, just play hard to get. Huh, praying to the moon, eh? That's cute. Shame your prayers went unanswered. The only god here is me. And with that, we've... Oh. Well, shit, guess I'll be eating those words shortly. Whoa, hey, hold up. What are you... Oh, okay, wow, inappropriate. You don't pay, you don't play. Alright, moon presence time. There's only enough room for one eternal being on this plane. Time to whip down an eldritch god. Cute. My turn. You're gonna give me all that life back and then some. And no matter how many times you try, no matter how big and strong you think you are, in the end, you're just a shadow of the monster that I am. And that's it. Bloodborne beaten with just a whip. That was actually a lot of fun. I've never given the cane whip the time of day, so it was neat to see how effective only using half of its moveset could actually be. In any case, hope you enjoyed that super spooky, definitely a horror game run. Feel free to do the YouTube things if you're feeling up to it, but other than that, that's all I've got. Take care of yourselves, be good to one another, and I'll see you all again soon.